Coming up on Chicago Bears Now, are the Bears finalizing their quarterback plans, and how does that impact Justin Fields? And is Jaylon Johnson going to receive the franchise tag? We'll get into all that coming up, but first, help us out. We're closing in on 88,000 subscribers here on the channel. We're just over 375 away. I want to get there by the end of this week. Hell, I'd love to wake up tomorrow and be there. That's a little bit lofty, but spread the word. Share the link below, youtube.com/BearsNow with the Bears Friend. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, be sure to do so. We are 100% free. All right, I'm Harrison Graham. Let's get into today's show. Are the Bears finalizing their quarterback plan? Well, report from Albert Breer is that the Bears plan to have a quarterback decision in place for the NFL Combine, which gets going next week. I'll be out in Indianapolis as well. Here's what Albert Breer had to say. The Bears are meeting over the next couple of weeks to finalize plans at quarterback with the expectation that they'll have a plan in place in Indianapolis next week. Things are starting to heat up, man. I mean, you know, the month of February came and we're over halfway done, and now the offseason really starts to kick into gear. I mean, the Combine is where a lot of these type of discussions take place, where teams are starting to sneakily talk to agents. Yes, tampering. We all know what happens. When it comes to free agency, trades start to materialize. Draft pick chatter is heating up, obviously, with all the prospects there. But everybody's at the Combine. Agents, team owners, GMs, coaches. So they're staying up till 3, 4 in the morning. They're having cocktails, and these conversations are taking place. So, the Bears have to at least head into Indianapolis with the general idea of what they want to do at the quarterback position. And the way I see it, they really have about 4 options, and I would argue they really only have about 2 options. Number 1, you take a quarterback at number 1 overall, Caleb Williams most likely, but maybe someone else, and trade Justin Fields. Number 2, you could trade the number 1 pick for a haul and keep Justin Fields. Number 3, you trade down for a quarterback, but still trade Fields, say Washington gives you a crazy offer to go from 2 to 1 to get Caleb, and then you take Drake May 2, then you trade Fields. The 4th option, which, Albert Breer and Adam Schefter said has been discussed internally but is unlikely, is you draft a quarterback, you still keep Justin Fields in case that rookie isn't ready or you want to sit him for a year like, some quarterbacks have in the past. I think that's a bad idea, but that has been discussed. And that's probably the order, in my opinion, of what's most to least likely, by the way. Now, obviously, if you do draft a quarterback, these are the 3 guys that are kind of considered at the top of the draft. Most have Caleb Williams as QB1. A few have Drake May. I'll be curious to see, as the dust settles, the May-Daniels thing. I think in general, Caleb will be QB1 on most teams' boards, but is Daniels QB2? Is May QB2? Who do most teams have ahead one or the other? Does May get QB1 status for a few teams? Maybe. I think this report from Breer is interesting, though, that they plan to have a plan in place by the Combine, which, we're talking about like a week, 10 days. It's here. If they're going to have a plan in place for next week, which way does that lean? Does that lean toward they're heavily thinking we're drafting a quarterback and we're going to shop Justin Fields at the Combine? Or does that mean they're going to do the opposite, that they're going to keep Fields and shop the number 1 pick at the deadline? I think it probably means that they're going to draft a quarterback and shop Fields at the deadline, but I don't know what's for sure based on this reporting. What do you think? What do you think is the most likely quarterback plan for the Chicago Bears? Do you think it's keep Justin Fields? If so, type K. If you think it's drafting a quarterback, type D for draft a quarterback. I would think it's for drafting a quarterback. Again, this is me guessing what they're going to do, not like this is my plan. But I don't know. D for draft a quarterback or K for keep Justin Fields. Speaking of Justin Fields, getting to the latest there, as Albert Breer had some reporting on that as well. He did say that the Bears started to get inquiries at the Senior Bowl on Justin Fields. As of now, he claims the Bears have not shopped him. So again, as they finalize their plans going into Indy, do they open up the phones for that to start to happen? You would wonder if that's the case. Here's what Breer had to say. Quote, Chicago staffers got inquiries from other teams on Fields in Mobile for the Senior Bowl, and while the Bears haven't shopped Fields, those conversations did allow the teams to start to gauge 2021 first-rounders worth out there on the market. More teams have a QB need now than will be the case a month from now, aka after free agency starts. So it makes sense if you're going to trade Fields to do it soon. He later said, I think the reality for Chicago will be that the talent of Caleb Williams plus the chance to reset the quarterback on a rookie contract clock will be too much for Chicago to pass on. We'll see. So he's not saying for sure which direction they're going in. He's just kind of connecting dots there on what he thinks is most likely. But the reporting of the Bears have gotten interest on Fields, that is legitimate reporting based on what he's saying there. So hard to know what if there's been offers made, et cetera. The timeline does matter here. I've said this all offseason. I know Ryan Poles, in January said, I plan on taking this thing to April. I do think if they plan on drafting a quarterback, then they need to trade Justin Fields before free agency. I think, A, if you want to be fair to Justin, that's most fair to him. B, if you want to get the best value, I think that's the best value because to Breer's point, a month from now, teams may be like, we don't know if he's available. We're just going to have to sign a quarterback to be our starter. We're going to focus more on the draft. So I think if you're going to go the route of drafting a quarterback and you plan to trade Justin, doing it in the next 2 to 3 weeks compared to, April 10th is going to help you get the best value. Now, could a team right before the draft get desperate and overpay? Sure. But you have less teams to work with at that point, if that makes sense. Now, coming up, we'll take a look at some Fields trade destinations, some teams that I think make sense for him if the Bears opt to trade him. But first, I do want to tell you about today's sponsor. That is Prize Picks. Daily fantasy made easy with Prize Picks. NBA All-Star break in the books. Plenty of games to put your money on with the NBA, college basketball, NHL, esports, and a whole lot more. Get signed up today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100. What I like about Prize Picks is you just select players, different statistical categories, and select more or less. You're not playing against pros, sharks, etc. It's just you versus the stat projections, and this is kind of just a general, this is what you get with the app. It's the largest app in North America. It's very easy to make your entries. They have daily specials and discounts sometimes, up to $100 with that deposit match, code CLNS. Different sports, not just the ones mentioned here, NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, you got UFC. You also have esports. NASCAR Daytona 500 is happening as I'm filming this here. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100 today. Take advantage of this deal. You're going to have a lot of fun 24/7, 365. Okay, Justin Fields. To me, these are the 5 teams, if they move on from him, that make the most sense. I think there's a clear top 2, Atlanta and Pittsburgh, whatever order you want to say there. I think New England's interesting. There's been some chatter they could trade off the number 3 pick, so maybe they don't want to take a QB there. Maybe they want to put together some sort of package for Justin Fields. Washington, let's say they love Caleb, but they don't like Drake or Jaden, and the Bears take Caleb. Maybe they consider just going Marvin at 2 and then trading their second-round pick for Justin. That could be a possibility. Denver, is Justin Fields the type of quarterback Sean Payton wants? I don't know, but Sean Payton doesn't strike me as a patient guy. Like, I personally think Denver should just tank next year and kind of recoup for 2025, but he may not want to do that. So they could be a team that puts together some sort of trade package as well. Our reports have suggested that Fields should fetch at least a second-round pick. Some have suggested maybe a first could be in play, like could Pittsburgh trade the 20th pick. I think the only way that happens is if the Bears also trade like a third or a fourth along with Fields to get that first, which I'd be open to. Like trade Fields and a fourth for the 20th pick. That could certainly be something that is in play as well. But I do think there will be a market. I do think teams will be interested. I think in general you're probably looking at a second-round pick plus an additional pick. But we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. And sounds like the timeline could be heating up on whatever they decide to do at the quarterback position. Will the Bears trade Justin Fields? Maybe I'm off it. Maybe they're going to keep Fields and trade the number 1 pick. What do you think? Type Y for yes, they'll trade Fields. Type N for no, they won't. Get your votes in down in the comment section below. Another big decision coming up for the Bears is Jaylon Johnson. Is he going to get the franchise tag? That window opens tomorrow as Jaylon is a strong tag candidate. Now, you look at the timeline here for the NFL franchise tag window. It opens tomorrow. It closes March 5th. So the Bears have about 2 weeks to decide if they're going to place him under the tag. I would imagine they will. Now, they may not do it tomorrow. They might try to get a long-term deal done, and then if they can't, March 4th, March 5th, they put him under the franchise tag. But we'll see what happens there. I think the long-term goal for both parties is a long-term deal, but what you see sometimes is you franchise tag a player, and then you have until mid-July to get a long-term deal done. So even if he gets tagged, that doesn't mean he won't get a long-term deal. I think he's worthy of one. He was the highest-graded corner in the NFL per PFF. I think the tape defends that level of grading there from Pro Football Focus. He was spectacular this year. The ball production improved dramatically with 4 interceptions. He only had 1 in his career prior to this season. And when quarterbacks threw at him, I mean, the QB rating was awful. Like, if you spike the ball every single play, your QB rating is 39.6. When they threw at Jaylon Johnson, it was 33.3. So what does that tell you? Things did not go well when they threw his way. Ryan Poles back in January said Jaylon isn't going anywhere. And why would he, right? Like, Johnson requested a trade at the deadline due to contract disputes. Bears didn't trade him. And Jaylon has seemed pretty happy since then with how things have gone. So I think it'll work out. It might be a tag initially, but I think he'll be here regardless. You know, in terms of what he could get, I mean, he's probably going to want $20 million per year. He may want to reset the market. Will he get that? I don't know. The guaranteed money is the one to watch for because that's straight cash homie. That's what you're going home with if you're Jaylon Johnson. Now, if he gets franchise tag, it's an $18.4 million cap hit, roughly. Now, depending on if the cap total changes, we'll see. But based on the current projected cap, which is $243 million for next year, 18.4 is what he's looking at. It was going to be 16.2, but since he earned a Pro Bowl and All-Pro, it jumps up to 18.4. My prediction is he'll get tagged initially. I think he will get tagged. The Bears might go through their free agency process, the draft, and then hopefully revisit that. I would love for them to get a long-term deal done now. So it's not something lingering over your head as you build this roster. But I do think a tag initially is probably most likely, as Jaylon's probably going to ask for top dollar. The Bears probably will not want to give him top dollar at first, so that's where the franchise tag comes into play. What do you think? Will Jaylon Johnson play 2024 under the tag or under a long-term contract? Type C for contract or type T for tag? I'm going to be optimistic. I think he gets a long-term deal. I just don't think it'll be initially this offseason, but I do think he will get a long-term contract. C for contract or T for tag. All right, guys. Appreciate you for tuning in to Chicago Bears Now by Chat Sports. My name is Harrison Graham. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notifications. We're trying to get to 388. What am I talking about? 88,000 subscribers here on the channel. 388. I mean, we are trying to get to 388, but we got to get to 88 first. So subscribe today. Let's get there. Bear down.